So this is our startup for week 4. It says find the missing length indicated. Leave your answer in simplest radical form. So we are looking at number 1, and we are solving x. Now, notice that we have an altitude that is 48 units. It is drawn here, and recall that the altitude is the geometric mean of the two segments that make up the hypotenuse. So in order to solve this proportion, or in order to solve this, we have to solve the proportion, cross multiply, and divide. So 48 times 48, that gives us 2308 or 04 is equal to 64x. Divide by 64, so x equals 36 for number 1. And all we did is the two pieces of the hypotenuse, when it's divided, that altitude is the geometric mean of those two values. So now number 2, find x. Now notice we still have an altitude drawn, but in this case we're looking for a leg, and we have the property that tells us that the leg is the geometric mean of its adjacent hypotenuse segment and the whole thing. We're told the whole thing is 100 in this case. So the leg is at the geometric mean of its segment, adjacent segment, and the whole thing. So once again, x will equal the square root of 36 times 100. Now, since 36 and 100 are both perfect squares, I'm not going to multiply those. The square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 100 is 10. So x equals 60. Number 3, find the missing side lengths. Leave your answer as radicals in simplest form. Number 3, we are given that it is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So, if one leg is equal to 2, that means the other leg will be equal to 2 also. So y equals 2. Legs are equal in 45, 45, 90. The hypotenuse, if you recall your shortcuts, hypotenuse equals the leg times radical 2. So therefore x equals 2 radical 2. If you did not remember that, and you know that these two are equal, 2 squared plus 2 squared equals x squared, solving it for x, simplest radical form, you will get the answer. Number 4 is a 30, 60, 90. In this case, we're given the hypotenuse. This is the short, and this is the long. Remember, you have short, long, hypotenuse. Everything is in terms of the short. So if you're told what the short is, the hypotenuse is 2 times the short. But in this case, we're working backwards. We're told the hypotenuse equals 10. So say 10 equals 2 times the short. If I'm solving this for the short side, 5 is equal to the short. Therefore, y equals 5. And then our equation for long is the short times radical 3. So once I know what the short side is, all I have to do is multiply it by radical 3 in order to get the long side. So x, which is my long side, equals 5 times radical 3. And there's no other math that has to be done on that particular problem. Let's move to number 5. As we're looking at number 5, notice that number 5 is also a 30, 60, 90 triangle. 60-degree angle there, so that means that this is my long side. Therefore, y is short, x is my hypotenuse. Remember, long equals short times radical 3. Plug in what we know. The long equals 3 radical 3. So we're solving this for short. And the way that we do that is divide both sides by radical 3. Notice it cancels, so 3 equals the length of the short. And if hypotenuse equals the short times 2, I will say 3 times 2, so the hypotenuse equals 6. So now I just have to distinguish which one's x and y. The x is the hypotenuse, and so therefore y is equal to 3. X is 6, y is equal to 3. And lastly, number 6. It says find the missing side, round your answer to the nearest tenth. We have a 29-degree angle. We don't have any shortcuts for 29 degrees. So in order to solve this one, we're going to have to use some type of trig function. We're given an angle here. This is the opposite, this is adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. So, since we're using trig, let me get rid of, no. We're going to have to use SOHCAHTOA. In reference to our angle, I have the opposite and adjacent, which means that is tangent. So tangent of theta, and theta in this case is 29 degrees, equals opposite over adjacent. And I covered up my variable, x. So now I solve for x. Recall, if x is in the denominator, we divide. So x equals 17 divided by tangent 29 degrees. Plug that in our calculator. And we get a number, x equals 30.7 is x. And that is your startup for this week.